I hope you all are enjoying the fruits of my labor because this is a labor, but it's a labor of love. I do it because encouraging others to discuss money is important. If you're liking the show, make sure to let me know by leaving a review or sending an email to podcast@worth-listening.com. That's podcast@worth-listening.com. Welcome to the Worth Listening Podcast, where we focus on having positive and productive conversations around money. I'm your host, Lauren, a four-time Olympian and certified financial planner. On this show, my guests share their money stories. Everyone has a unique story and experiences both wins and losses when it comes to money. My intent is to give listeners something they can relate to, something that builds their courage to be open and take control of their own money story. When I'm not creating a great show for my listeners, I'm running my company, Worth Winning, where I help individuals and families organize their finances. Check us out at worth-winning.com. All right, now on with the show. Today, I'm excited to have Rebekah Aladdin here to share her money memoir with us. Rebekah is a professional makeup artist. I'm talking the cover of Vanity Fair type makeup. Her work has been featured in 11 magazines in just the past 6 months. Her thing is making celebrities look beautiful, whether that's for Nike commercials or having models look great as they rip the runway during Paris Fashion Week. Rebekah is the go-to girl. She's overcome a lot to get where she is today, and she'll share with us what it was like to work her way through college while being financially responsible for other family members, how she set herself up to pursue makeup full-time, and tell us a little bit about how she's managing her business successfully as a one-woman show. Let's listen as Rebekah shares some of her money memoir with us today. All right, listeners, I've got an amazing guest for you guys today. Rebekah Aladdin I just can't even explain how good she is at making people look amazing. Rebekah, hello and welcome to the show.
Hi. You got me blushing.
Don't blush. Just soak it all in. If you have not seen her work, you guys got to go to IG. I know I usually talk about that stuff later, but wow, unbelievable. But Rebekah, we need to start at the beginning of your life. So tell people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and if you could work in telling us what your first memory of money was.
Okay. My name is Rebekah Aladdin, and I'm from Pasadena, California. I am an identical twin, and I come from a family of all girls. It's 4 girls total. My parents split up when I was really young. I think it was 4 when they split up. So we had, I guess, 2 different examples of households, especially like as I grew up and as it pertained to money. I feel like when I was younger, for both of my parents always had their last dollar in their pocket. So there wasn't a lot of talk about savings accounts or checking accounts. From what I knew, I was going to go get ice cream. My dad was spending his last $5 to go get me ice cream. Or, if I asked my mom in the store, I wanted a toy, it was like, not today. As I got older, I ended up moving with my mother, who at the time was in the beginning relationship of her soon-to-be second husband. And so in time, they ended up running an entrepreneurial type workers' compensation business. And they did that together. And so at first, it went from like seeing minimal money, and then it went to having a 4-bedroom house in the valley, and they were running this business, and it was just them 2, and they did really well. But I did not see any change for myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. So there wasn't much spoiling or anything like that going on. Me and my twin sister, her name is Rachel. We're the youngest, but we're the most responsible. So we would clean and we would make everybody's lunches in the morning. We were cleaning machines. All we did was clean and do our homework. And so we used to get $5 allowance a week from my mom.
And so how were you spending or saving that $5?
So I've always been a saver. Before middle school, if you gave me $5, I would have that $5 for months in my little caboodle. You could find my $5. I wasn't playing with you. I took care of my things very, very well because I didn't get a lot of things. So if you were to buy me a Barbie, if I would open the Barbie, I would save all the twist ties. And when I was done with the Barbie, I would put her back in the box the same exact way I found her. Twist ties and everything, because I just wasn't used to getting things. So I really wanted to take care of the things that I got. And then when it came to money, similarly, it's like, well, what am I going to spend my money on? Like, I'd rather save it. You know, there's nothing I really, really want. So let me save it. And so I used to save my money. And then when it came to middle school and I used to get $5, that's like $1 a day for a bag of chips. So that was my chip fund. So there wasn't a lot of saving going on, but had a healthy chip fund. I was buying Funyuns every day.
Funyuns? That was your chip of choice?
Yes, girl, Funyuns. And then my sister would get hot Cheetos, and then we would split the bag and mix it up. That's why when Funyun came out with hot Funyuns, it was like we low-key invented that first.
Game over, right?
I just want to let the world know. But before that, actually, I just remembered. So before my first money experience of making my own money, when we were kids, and this is 3rd, 4th grade, my best friend, Courtney, her parents used to take us to the flea market in Pasadena, I think at the Rose Bowl, and we would sell lemonade that her mom made. And we would be out there all day, once a month, selling lemonade. And me, Courtney, and then my sister, Rachel. And then afterwards, her mom would split up the money and we would get paid from it. And we would go to Hello Kitty store, Sanrio, and we would buy a reward or prize for working so hard. But I would save that prize. So I remember I bought a pencil with a big Hello Kitty eraser on it, and I never used it. Like literally, I never used the pencil, never sharpened it, never used the eraser, never used it.
So what do you think, looking back on all those different experiences, being a saver or being a chip buyer and not a saver, going through that period of life and then buying something and saving it because you save up or you get the money to be able to afford this thing and then you don't want to use it. How do you think that now as an adult, looking back on those experiences, shaped you into the adult that you are today and in your money behavior?
Well, even when I was spending my chip money, I still had money. I still had a savings of something. You know, obviously when you're getting $5 at a time, it's a small savings, but I still had something because I remember buying my own shoes in middle school. And they were from Marshalls, but they were still my own shoes that I bought. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was never that kind of person that just spent all of my money. In terms of how it shaped me, I think I've just always been a really intentional person and responsible and just the person that likes to savor the moment. It was okay to spend my money on the Sanrio or Hello Kitty pencil because it was a memory and I earned it and it was mine. And now it was something that I could hold on to and look at and remember so many things. And it was me and my best friend and we were selling lemonade. Like, you know, to me, the pencil wasn't just a pencil because I didn't even use it. It was really a prize. It was like a trophy.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, like, you have an identical twin. People say, oh, they're genetically the same. Was she the same in money behavior? And then also, how did that compare to your other siblings and their money behavior? Because like you said, money wasn't talked about in the household. So you guys were kind of developing your own behavior. What was that like?
So my sister, she's just like me when it comes to money, maybe even a little bit better than I am, just because I like candy and I don't know. I feel like for some reason, when I think of this money situation, I think of our relationship to candy. I'll buy candy and I'll eat it all up. And my sister will buy candy and she'll let it sit there and save it. I don't know why. I just feel like it's the same equivalent with money. But it's not that far off. But my sister does have a little bit more restraint, maybe, I guess is the word. But I mean, it's so slight. And then in terms of my other sisters, my older sister, that girl, money burns a hole in her pocket. And then my middle sister, I don't know what her money is like, but I don't know in terms of like her budgeting. But I don't think anyone in the family is quite like my twin and I. Like we are very diligent with everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting too, how you come from the same household. You have a very similar upbringing because you come from the same household. Of course, everybody has their own personal life experiences, but everyone ends up unique in the way that they handle money or think about money or have that money emotion. And we're different despite the things that are similar about us. And I would be interested to even see how they would describe some of the things that they saw growing up or they felt. It's the same environment, but what things stood out to them versus the things that stood out to you.
Right. Especially because my older sister, she's 6 years older than me. So she was much older when we were going through the same experiences. So I'm sure she could observe more than I could.
Yeah. And so interest that you had as a child, we talked about you saving this money and doing the chores to get the money, but what was your first job or other ways that you earned money? Or were there any ways you started to earn money before you were 18?
Well, that lemonade was technically my first job.
Yeah, you're right. The lemonade stand.
And then when I first started, my first job was when I was 14. Actually, yeah, like 13, 14. My first job actually was babysitting my niece. My older sister had a daughter. And so I used to babysit my niece every weekend religiously, me and my twin sister, from Friday to Sunday. We were there every weekend babysitting my niece. So that was kind of my first job. And then after that, I wanted to get a real job. I couldn't wait to get a job. I couldn't wait to get a credit card. I was trying to live my little responsible life immediately. So I think also too, I didn't really care for like some of the things that were happening around me when I was a kid. So I couldn't wait to get control of my own life. So there's that. I also had a lot of examples of what not to be and what decisions not to make. I was just excited to make better choices for my life. So as soon as I could, I joined the Urban League and I tried to get a summer job. I was constantly waiting for my birthday to come for me to be old enough to get the job that I wanted. So I had the Urban League job. And this is when I was 14 or maybe 15. And then when I was 15, I was hired at Chase, which at the time was called Washington Mutual. And they had a high school internship program. And I had interviewed for it. Both my sister and I had interviewed and we had been hired, but we had to wait till our birthday. So in that summer, I worked for the Urban League at a resource center. And then come September, I was old enough to accept my job. And I started at the bank and I was a teller. And I worked there for a little over 2 years until I graduated college. And I spilled over a little bit into college too.
Gotcha. Okay, so when did you feel in control of your money? The kind of first job when you were the teller, or you're still underage at this point? So was there a period where your parents were telling you what you needed to do with your money or how you had to spend it because you were underage? Or did they give you more responsibility because you were working and they didn't have a lot? What was that like?
So by the time I got back into high school, I was living with my father again. And so when I was living with my dad, he's not that type. Like he wasn't going to tell you what to do with your money. And my dad is just not like that. But part of the reason that really motivated me to want to work was I wanted to help around the house. My dad had multiple sclerosis and he was disabled and basically unemployed. He had some self-employment things he could do. He had been a real estate appraiser previously. So sometimes he would partner up with some of his real estate friends and go out and do appraisals and stuff under the table. And he could earn money like that. But in terms of an actual job, he wasn't even physically well enough to maintain a job. So my relationship with my father was just like, my dad is my best friend. So I wanted to help. And I think initially a lot of how I did help was I took care of myself. And so whatever expense that I needed for myself, whether it be for school or just regular life stuff, basically as soon as I got a job, I was paying for everything I needed for myself. Girl, it didn't matter if it was tissues. It did not matter. If it was for myself, I was buying it, period. So I was pretty much financially outside of food and maybe bills at the house at the time. I was taking care of myself. And then as it got older and as I started working more and stuff, we did pay bills at the house too. It was very much a team effort. Everybody was chipping in where they could. And so what I did first was we also wanted to save our money, save. So me and my sister, we saved our money and then we got enough money to put it down on a car and we bought a car. But at the time, my dad had been renting cars and he was just constantly renting. And that was such a waste of money. And I understood why he did it because he felt like it was a little bit more secure than buying a car and running into car issues. If you had a rental, if anything went wrong, you would just turn it in. But it went a little bit too long. And I feel like that is where my dad wasted a lot of money. So then when we got a car, which was really cool because it was the nicest car he had ever driven. It was an Audi A6 and we had bought it used. So it was at a manageable price. And again, it was both me and my sister paying for it. So we were splitting the cost and it was basically my dad's car. And nobody in my family knew where the car came from. It was this little secret we had. It was our car, but my dad was the one driving it all the time. So that'll just kind of give you an example of how it was just like a team effort. And I didn't have an issue with that at all. I wanted to help.
Yeah. And I think so frequently that come together team effort is something that you find often in minority communities where we don't have a lot, but we have to work with one another to make sure that we all have enough. So I think it's a really cool testament to the way that minorities are able to band together despite what the perception for others might be. Not having a lot or poor you in poverty, it almost makes you stronger when you work together like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was different. My boyfriend's always like, you weren't the only one who grew up poor. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I wasn't. But from what I know, I'm one of the few people who really had responsibility at home that was really, really chipping in. I'm not saying that people don't, because I'm sure people do. And I'm sure there are good people who have it way harder than I have. I know that. But I knew friends who were in similar situations. But again, they had a certain freedom and certain innocence that they were allowed to still have. They were still getting Jordans and sneakers, or there's a commercial on about a football program. And my boyfriend was like, oh, were you ever in cheerleading? I'm like, no, hell no, I wasn't in cheerleading. Cheerleading costs $300 for a uniform. I was in free shit, okay? Free shit and free shit only.
Right.
The only thing I was in that cost money was the Boys and Girls Club. That's it. And that was because it's cheaper than daycare.
Right.
No, nope, no. And then in college, I was on the track team or whatever, which I wasted my time doing that. But my team won CIF. And when you're on the team, everybody gets a chance to get a ring. I only got that ring because I paid for it myself. Because I had a job to pay for it myself, I would have never got that ring. And I ended up not getting the class ring because I was just like, yeah, they look the same. It's cool. So
one ring is good enough. We're going to make this one work. So yeah, let's pause there and talk about college a little bit. So you've been working your way through high school, been pretty much financially responsible for yourself as much as possible. So what did that look like? Was there a conversation about you all going to college, how college was going to be paid for?
College is crazy. So I was in the Business and Finance Academy in high school, which I think is noteworthy. At the time, I felt like I wasn't really learning anything. I wasn't impressed with the information at all. I thought it was so basic. And then when I graduated and I started getting into the real world, I started to see how many people don't have that basic knowledge of just money, how to pay yourself first and just savings and things like that. And I was just like, okay, so I guess it wasn't that basic. So approaching college, I wanted to be a pilot. So I had an aviation school. First of all, I didn't understand anything about colleges. Okay. I was in the counselor's office every day in high school at lunch, trying to understand college. I didn't get it. My first, second, and third choice college was a UC, a Cal State, and a private school. And my college counselor was like, that's a UC, a Cal State, and a private school. And I'm like, uh-huh. I didn't get it. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand the difference, and I don't understand the issue. And so, of course, now I do understand the issue. The issue is that they're ranked differently. And so I guess my choices were just kind of all over the board versus being mixed between UCs and private or whatever. So my first choice was UCLA. And actually, let me back up. So I said the aviation thing because that's like a trade tech. It's a whole fourth type of school, like a trade tech, a UC, a Cal State, and a private school. You're all over the place. So they came in and they sat down. They gave us a spiel about the whole how to be in aviation. I still continued because I didn't know what I was doing. I was all over the place. So I still went through with the college application process and I applied to UCs and things like that. And my first choice was USC, but by the time the application came around, I was so burnt out on essays and stuff, I couldn't even apply. I was like, I'm done. Like, I just can't. So at that point, my UCs and my Cal State applications were the only ones out there in the world to save. And in between that, when I was waiting for my decision, I had visited UCLA and I decided that I really wanted to go to UCLA. I heard the speech about being a Bruin and like blue and gold running through somebody's veins. And I was like, yeah, I want gold to run through my veins. And so I had decided that I had wanted to be a Bruin. And I was like, I'm so glad I applied to this school. So fast forward, I got into UCLA and then I realized how stupid I was. It's so dumb. UCLA is the only UC I sent my application to. The only one. Even though you can send it to, I think, 6 or 7. It's the only one I sent it to. So if I didn't get into UCLA, I would have been at a Cal State, which no shade to Cal State. They're great institutions. However, I don't think that would have worked for me. So once I got in, I realized that UCLA is the most competitive school in the nation. Literally. They receive the most applications in the nation. So I was like, wow, you were dumb. You put all your eggs in one basket. So for the entire first year, I used to walk to class with anxiety, like, girl, you could almost not be here. Do you realize you could almost not be here? And so I started to realize how big of a deal it was. Only 3 people from my school got in. Me and my twin sister got in too, which is crazy. Actually, 4 people got in. A boy who was a twin as well at my school, but his twin didn't get in. And then a girl. And of the 4, me and my sister were the only people to actually go to UCLA. And in terms of financially managing school, managing college and the decision, it worked out for me because my parents' income level or my father's income level was so low that my parent expected contribution was 0. So I had qualified for all of the grants, all of the scholarships, because if it weren't for grants and scholarships, I can't go to college. So it was like an interesting turn because in high school, you feel like you're trying to hide it. You don't want anybody to know that you don't have any money. And then you go to college and you see these people that were doing well in high school, these middle-class families struggling to put their children through college. And then I'm just sitting there, they're like, yeah, I got all my stuff paid.
So no student loans at all then?
No, so not quite. I was short $6,000.
Every year or just total?
Every year.
Okay.
So every year I was short $6,000, but I had, what is it called? It's like a job.
Like work study?
Yes, thank you. I had work study. And so the work study was how I earned my last bit of money. And I think I was still short a little bit, but it was enough that I could deal with it. So I did work study for all 4 years. But for the first 2 years, I just did work study and then I paid. My first year went by and woohoo, made it. My second year came and I didn't know that I had to put down $400 in order to secure my housing for the following year. I didn't have $400. It was spring. I didn't have $400. I didn't know what to do. My sister, she was in a better place than I was because she was a Jackie Robinson scholar. And the Jackie Robinson scholarship was $6,000 a year. So she wasn't quite as tight of a situation as I was. Luckily, her scholarship came through and they paid her housing deposit. And then a woman from the scholarship, she came and she wrote a personal check and paid for mine.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Right.
A lot of good points here. So we talk about sometimes this idea of generational poverty. And I think it's a good time to bring it up because you didn't have the resources to go to college, but you also didn't have the resources just based on the environment for anybody to really help you and know and understand how to create a strategy around college. And I think that's one of the things that people come up against is this idea of just not knowing. Intelligence is a resource in and of itself. And so things could have gone a completely different way. So you pick 4 different schools, 4 different ways that needed to be paid for, 4 different ways of qualifying. And then you turn around and the very same thing that could have held you back and had you in a tough position ended up helping you out in such a way, like you said, being low income, qualifying for everything. But also you needed someone to get you in a position to know to take advantage of all those things, to apply for the scholarships. And thank goodness for guidance counselors and people like that. And you and your sister were on your grind from day one.
My dad was a big one too. My dad was like, you need to be in that counseling office. You need to look at the bulletin boards. I mean, I heard it every day. You would have thought I was a CD student. I was getting lectured every day. I'm a straight A student. I'm getting lectured every day about how I could do better. I'm like, sir, I'm doing a good job if you ask me. He was like, no, I'm telling you, you need to apply. You need to talk to people. And he was right. And I got a lot of opportunities just simply being present and being there. My stepsister is actually going to UCLA at the time. So in my first year, she was a senior there. But this is my stepsister. She wasn't sharing information with me per se, not ahead of time enough to make a difference. Once I got there, maybe, but not financial information anyway.
Yeah. And I think that brings up a good point too about, once again, why conversation is so important. There's so many resources that are available to us from an intelligence standpoint of simply just asking someone or being in the right place to share that information. Like, oh, hey, my little sister is doing this. Let me tell her what I know. It might not be super helpful for her. Her situation might be different, but passing that information on and how that can help somebody get to that next level is a really important thing to always remember and keep it in consideration. So.
Yeah, it was definitely a blind process. And hearing you reiterate everything I said, it's like, well, good thing I didn't go to aviation school. Good thing I didn't go to USC. USC was $40,000 plus a year. UCLA was only 20. There's no way I would have came out of USC debt free. There's no way I would have came out of aviation school debt free because, of course, you know, them little private trade tech schools, they love to get you in a loan. So I guess fast forward, I worked throughout college. In my last 2 years, I found out you could be a resident assistant and that you would get free housing. So I applied to be a resident assistant and I did that for 2 years and I got my housing for free. And that was a big, huge help. And then from there, I found out my first year, I looked at my director my assistant resident director, you could be a student and do that position. So for my 4th year, I applied to be assistant resident director. I didn't get it.
Oh, no.
I was distraught because what happened was not only would I get free housing, I would get paid $600 a month on top of it. And I was applying to it in the spring of my 3rd year. Well, also in the spring of my 3rd year, I lost my house back home. So we had been in a legal battle with my house and we lost it. So now my dad was sleeping on my grandmother's couch.
Wow.
And all I wanted was the $600 to be able to give to my dad so my dad can go get an apartment. I didn't want $1 of it. I wanted to continue to have what I had, which is my free housing. And let me get the extra $600 and let me give the whole thing to my dad and he can go get an apartment.
We need to pause here for just a second because I think there's a lot of students out there nowadays that they want to go to college. They don't want to work at all because they want to be able to focus on school, and they take out whatever student loans they need to be able to do that thing. And it is to each his own. But what I hear you saying is I worked my butt off to get all the scholarships I possibly could. I worked during college. I tried to find an extra opportunity so I could get some more money, but not for myself, but to be able to take care of home, all while going to class, getting my education so that I can better my future. It's like a number of responsibilities that you had to take on in this process. And you did it. You juggled it all. You graduated. You made stuff happen.
Yeah. Yep. And so I had 2 jobs. I was a RA, a resident assistant, and I was an office assistant. And so I didn't get that job in. I was pretty upset because there was some shady stuff that went behind why I didn't get that job.
Uh-oh.
I was pissed because, and they used to always think I had an attitude because we used to have meetings and stuff. And they used to be like, oh, Rebekah, you're just so confident and this, that, and the other. And I used to be like, look, it's not confidence. It's not attitude. I got real shit going on. Y'all want to hang out and make friends and do this and do that. This is a job. I'm here because simply this is a job. And I'm not trying to I would like to have a good time in the meantime, but you act like we don't have priorities or people don't have things going on outside of this. I have things going on. And I wish I handled the stress a little bit better for sure, but people didn't understand me. But it was because they didn't understand really how much pressure I had going on. Every time I came home, I felt like there was a new bill to pay.
Right.
So it was frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, and I felt bad. You know, it's a situation where everybody's, and I don't want to say everybody's losing because that's not fair, but it's just a situation where no one's enjoying themselves because it's like my dad feels guilty that I'm in college and I got so much responsibility and I can't provide the way he wants to. And then I feel guilty that my dad feels guilty. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like,
it's just this whole...
It's just this endless cycle of everybody trying to help each other, but everybody feeling bad because they can't do more. It was intense, but I didn't get that job. So I was upset about it, whatever. I had went and studied abroad and I had taken advantage of this opportunity to study abroad where I signed my first loan. And one of them was a parent student loan for $5,000. And then the other one was $6,000 or $7,000. And so I went, I studied abroad. I barely enjoyed it because I was just so upset about everything that was happening in life. And I was stressed out. And then I was studying Spanish. And Lord, I thought I was going to fail. I was getting A, B, C, D, F. I got every grade on all my tests. And I was just like, what is happening? I did not come out here to ruin my GPA, right? I'm stressed. So I ended up getting a B plus or whatever, which was like a slap in the face because that plus, it's lower than an A. So I was irritated, but I was so happy I got a B plus, but I really thought I was going to fail. And I was praying for a C. So when I came home, I returned to RA training and all that other stuff. And then as soon as I got settled in that, school started September and October, my dad dies.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
In the midst of you working so hard to be able to look after him. Yeah. So
people come together at the school and start coming together and raising money for us. We didn't even really put it out there that we need help. He didn't have life insurance. This was before GoFundMe was popular. And we didn't even know how much help we needed. And if you've ever buried a person, you have to pay for everything. You have to pay for the church. You have to pay for a person. If you want them to administer or something like that, you have to pay for that. You literally have to pay for everything. And so I was still in school and in the beginning of my senior year at that and trying to plan this funeral and everything. Long story short, people would come together, ASU, African Women's Collective, even the gymnastics team. I only knew two, well, that's not true. I knew a couple of girls on this gymnastics team, but, you know, a few of them were close to me. And they went and got the whole team to donate. And they gave us money and then they gave us gymnastics uniforms and stuff.
Wow.
Which is so sweet because it had nothing to do with anything, but it was just such a gesture. And me and my sister were just we were so grateful because not only do we have these funeral expenses, but guess what? We lost our house. We have 3 storage units.
Wow.
So That was a whole process. But luckily, because I was still an RA, my sister was living with me. Nobody knew. And hopefully nobody from UCLA listens to this.
Too late, too late.
But I had my sister staying with me for 2 years. When I say I was always hustling, we were hustling and working the system. And so my sister was staying with me. And so she was saving her money because she wasn't paying for housing and stuff. And so that was great because it gave us some leeway and it gave us a way to kind of build a little bit of a cushion to transition once we graduated college. And so my parents' student loan that came from when I traveled abroad, it got erased because it was a parent student loan. So I guess it was really in my dad's name.
Right.
And so that was a big blessing because that was $5,000. And that loan was earning interest by the day before I even graduated. It wasn't one of those deferred loans. It was like, you're back in the States, run us the money. So they started accruing interest immediately. And so that got wiped out. So that was a huge blessing. Between that and the donations, it kept us from really taking a loss financially when my dad died. There was no gain, but there was definitely not a huge loss.
Right. And you didn't have to leave school during this process.
I did it all without leaving school, which is a blessing. But that also goes to this whole situation taught me that everything happens for a reason. Because had we had our house when this happened, had we not lost our house 6 months prior, I would have had to spend time unpacking the house and doing the storage units and doing all that kind of stuff. And I think I would have had to leave school. But because that was already taken care of, it was like a loss prepared me for a bigger loss coming.
Wow. Yeah.
And it ultimately set me up to win.
Yes.
I graduated on time. I graduated in June. I didn't even take a summer after. I couldn't even do it. So I couldn't handle it mentally. And I was taking 20 units at a time in a quarter system. I need to be done now because I can't do this anymore. And quite frankly, I also couldn't pay for another quarter either.
Yes. Okay. So take us. Now you're graduated. What happens life after college?
So life after college, me being the hustler that I am, I still applied to the assistant resident director position because it was a good position. It was good. You lived on campus, your housing came out. So now it was a little bit different when you're not a student. So when you're not a student, you got your housing taken out of your check before taxes. It included food. The only thing you had to pay for really was a little money for a parking space. And then if you had a car note or a cell phone, everything else, internet, lights, you know what I mean? Electricity, food, all that is provided. It was such a good situation. So I applied and I did so well in the previous year in the process. I knew I had a strong chance of getting it and I did get it. And so I did that for 3 years. I was assistant resident director at UCLA and I saved my money in the meantime because now I don't have a home. And my father's not around, kind of cut back some of my expenses so I could really kind of only focus on myself. I still go back and I help my grandmother, but my expenses are much lower. My responsibilities are lower. So I had only planned to be there for 1 year and I had ended up being there for 3, and which is a little hard pill to swallow, but things take longer than you expect them to. So I was constantly counting my money. Okay, well, how much does it take to get to here? How much do I want to have saved before I leave this job? And then I'll do the monthly calculations and how much I save a month and blah, blah, blah. So I was saving $1,000 a month.
Wow.
But that job's only 10 months a year, 9 months, 10 months a year. But yeah, I was saving $1,000 a month for the most part. That was my goal anyway. Once I got to my savings goal, I moved down to part-time, like 30 hours a week. And at that point, I was just buying time. I wasn't saving any more money, but I was just buying time in order to transition. I was cutting hair in my bedroom because I lived on campus. So I was cutting hair after work. And then I was also building my network for makeup.
Okay. So what did you go to school for?
Oh, I went to school for World Arts and Cultures, Cultural Studies concentration, completely unrelated to my current life.
All right. So makeup, let's go there.
Yeah, let's go there.
This is your current life.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about how you ended up in the makeup industry. And like I said, you finished with this 3-year period and you built yourself up. Take us through how you got to the makeup world and what that looks like now.
Okay. So, I knew I wanted to do makeup. Long story short, I knew I wanted to do makeup. I called a friend. He was a photographer. I was really trying to get a photo shoot in because I wanted to model too. And he was like, no, I'm not doing photo shoots anymore. I'm doing movies. He's like, come through, we're about to do this. We're in pre-production. I'm like, all right. So fast forward, I hang out with him. And then about a week or so later, I get a call saying that they need a makeup assistant for 2 out of 3 weeks on the set. And I'm like, okay, great. Now I'm on this movie. I'm on this feature film, It's independent film, but it's still a feature film with Lance Gross and Nicole Bahari. And it was directed by Matthew A. Cherry, which to me was like, oh, this is a big, big, big deal. And it was a big deal because it was like basically it was like maybe like my second makeup job. I wasn't even registered like as a pro yet with the MAC or anybody like that. I was literally in the beginning stages. So I assisted a woman who is now my good friend. Her name is Starlyn Burden. She was the key makeup artist, and I assisted her on that film. And then from there, Starlyn would still call me for different jobs to assist her. And then from there, I just started getting different referrals and building my portfolio.
So how long had you been doing makeup? Did you start when you were 7 years old? Doing it on your sisters? Like, what age did you get interested?
No, because remember, money was tight. So I didn't have anything to play with. I didn't start buying makeup for real until I decided I wanted to do it professionally. I'm serious. My first job, my first job was a play in LA. And it was this High School Musical. And I had to go to Target. Oh, Lord. I went to Target and bought CoverGirl Clean Collection stuff. I literally didn't have a kit for them. I didn't have anything. And I didn't have my own makeup either because at the time I had great skin and stuff. So it was like, what did I need makeup for? I had like one eyeshadow palette that my sister bought me for Christmas. And that was it. So I liked makeup. I really, really liked it, especially in college and things like that. And I wanted to play in it. And I did sometimes. But if I played in it, it was because my friend had an eyeshadow palette and you know what I mean?
Right.
It was like that. I didn't have any makeup for myself.
Got it.
See, it was just kind of like a joke until it wasn't.
So how much experience did you have when you did that first film? At that point, how much experience did you have?
It's kind of a blur. I feel like I had a little bit of experience because I did the play. I did some photo shoots. My boyfriend at the time was a photographer. And so I had done some photo shoots and stuff. But again, I didn't have a kit, which is like, how can you do makeup without a kit? It's so not a good situation. But, so yeah, I had done some stuff. And even in college, I had done Nigerian Student Union fashion show. Like I remember doing that for them, doing the eyeshadow and stuff. But again, it wasn't my own stuff.
Right. So you worked 3 years after college and then you decided, okay, I'm done with this. I want to go full time into makeup. But you were doing the makeup while you were in that 3-year period, kind of like getting yourself ready to go full time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was building up the portfolio and just building my connections. Again, more so just kind of putting out the intention, not doing anything. When I say not doing anything, I wasn't applying for any jobs, but I was just out there and I was networking and I was putting in the groundwork, paying my dues. I was paying my dues. I was doing movies and I was getting paid $50 a day. You know what I mean? I was getting paid $50 a day to drive 1,000 notes, that's like gas money. Okay. And that was kind of it. And then I would do a lot of free things, but I could do it because I had a job.
Right.
So I didn't even really need the money. So I was putting a lot of pay my dues at that time. And then so fast forward, get in the position where I want to transition. I really did not know what to do. I still didn't really know. And so Lance Gross, who is the lead actor in the film that I talked about, he had a side hobby of photography. And so he asked to shoot me one day as a model. And I did my own makeup. And so after that, in the next couple of months, he was like, dang, I want you to start doing all my models' makeup. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So fast forward, he starts doing just that. He starts calling me, hey, you available? You available? You available? Again, this is a due. I'm paying a due because this is a hobby. So it's not a budget involved. Everybody's just coming for the love of what they're doing and just trying to create a great image. Sometimes we had paid shoots, but that wasn't until later. So for about a year or so, it was just free shoots. Now, keep in mind, I have a kit now. My kit costs money to maintain.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it was an investment because I was getting great images. The person taking the images had a platform. That platform was now being shared with me. Most of the models had a platform too. That platform was being shared with me. And I would say that is how I began to have my first initial presence on Instagram.
Awesome. Okay. So tell us a little bit about that moment that you feel like, okay, I can go ahead, I can do this full time and I can make enough money to do this without working somewhere else.
Okay. So let me say this. So what it was that I didn't start making money in makeup and then decide to transition like, oh, I can make real money. I decided that I was going to transition and I was going to make money doing makeup. So I did the transition before I saw the money. But the thing was I put myself in the position to do that. I had saved my money and I had saved from UCLA. I had saved enough what I thought I would need to pay for a year of my expenses if I did not make $1.
Girl, preach. Yes. That is rule number one of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And it wasn't even a lush life, but it was like my car was paid off at the time. And I was rolling in an old ass Honda Civic, but it was clean though. And it was reliable. And I was rolling with that thing for a very long time. And so I just had my overhead, my apartment expenses and stuff like that. And I lived with my sister. So we split it in half. And that was that. And I calculated that how much would that cost. Now, granted, I was probably under a little bit because, you know, the real world, you spend a lot more money on food than what you think you do. Especially me. I hadn't been paying for food at all because it was included in my job. So I saved what I thought was going to need for about a year. I only ended up using half of it before I started making some money. So I left UCLA in June. I would say for those first 6 months, I didn't really make any money. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. I was just like, what do I do? What do I do? I was sitting at home, punishing myself to stay by the computer and stay ready. I didn't get it. I was like, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And I wish I would have just went to like enjoy myself or something during that time. But I just didn't know, and I wanted to be ready. And I was just like, you're comfortable, Rebekah, you're comfortable. You got to go for it. And so in the end of that year, I realized I was comfortable and I got to go for it. And so that January is when more opportunities started coming. And then I started getting more consistent. Throughout that time, I was still doing a lot of test shoots with Lance, which is helping me practice, building my portfolio and things like that. Fast forward. And I think after my first year or two, I realized I really still wasn't. I was making a cool amount of money. You know, I was proud of myself. I'm doing it on my own. But I'm just living my life on a budget. I'm living my life like, no, you can't do that because you're freelance and you don't know where your next job is coming from. Instead of realizing like you're freelance, which means your possibilities are endless. You can make $10,000 next week. And once I started realizing if I have a stable job, that's where the restraint is. If I'm only getting paid $10 an hour, $20 an hour, I'm only getting paid $20 an hour, period. You know what I mean? And my job didn't have overtime. So my salary was my salary and that's it. And that's all. That is a restraint. When you're a freelancer, you don't have a restraint, Rebekah. You have to realize that your limits are what you place on them. So once I started to realize that I define my own limits and that the possibilities are endless and it's about what I put into it and it'll reflect on what I get out. And I just changed my mindset. I said, okay, Rebekah, I think I had 2 months left in the year. I don't know why I'd be going through it in fall or winter. All of a sudden I have these revelations and I start strong. My Januaries are solid. My Januaries are bomb.
You come out swinging.
Yeah. So I decided, I think it was October. And I was like, before the end of the year, you have to make $10,000. At the time, it was a lot of money to me. And I was just like, oh shit, how am I going to do that? And I split it up and I did the math. How much is that a week? How much is that? Blah, blah, blah. And I think I was under like $15. So I made 9,950, you know what I mean? 9,990 something or 80 something. I basically hit the goal in my mind.
Right.
As far as I was concerned, I hit the goal. So I was like, oh shit. Okay, cool. And then from there, things just started working in my favor because I started to realize what was really out there. So fast forward, now I'm on jobs and I'm not represented. I don't have an agent. I don't have a manager. I still don't. But I work with hairstylists that do. So I got on the shoot and they had offered me a rate and I took the rate. And I sat there and I looked around and I said, oh shit, I got played. So I said something to a friend of mine who was actually my client's manager. She was my client's manager. And I pulled her aside and I said, hey, I think I got played. She said, you want me to go ask her for more money? You know, you want me to go see it? And I was like, yeah. So she went to go with the person that hired me. She came back with an extra $500 a day in 2 seconds.
Wow.
So then I realized I really got played. Because if it was that easy for you to get an extra $500, then there was way more money. You know what I mean? There was way more money.
Right. Why did you not want to get an agent at that time when that lady was able to help you out and you saw the value of someone else asking on your behalf sort of thing?
I was afraid. I wasn't good enough. I was afraid my portfolio wasn't strong enough. And I'm shy. I don't know. I was afraid. So I said, all right. So the girl who did that, she's like, all right, you owe me 10% now. I was like, what?
Oh.
So I paid her 10%. I was low-key hot though, because it wasn't the 10% on just the part that she got me. It was 10% on the whole thing. I'm like, all right, you didn't say that before you walked over there, but that's okay. I gave her 10%. So then she started helping me. So she was my client's manager, but she started helping me on the jobs that my client was getting. This year, she was getting mad campaigns and stuff. So she, on the back end, was really figuring out what the real budget was. So she would say, hey, so-and-so is going to reach out to you.
Right.
This is your rate. Tell them this is your rate. And she would tell me what the real budget was. So at that point, I didn't really need a manager. I didn't need an agent because she was helping me out on the back end and being honest with me about what I could really expect from these production companies. In that year, I started to learn how to just analyze the situation, what to expect, how much I should be getting from a campaign or the type of job. Also, I'm a talent request, which gives me more leverage because the talent that you're trying to book wants me and me only. So you have to negotiate with me. And then also what I started doing back to the hairstylists, I started asking hairstylists because they're with agents. And I would be like, hey, I'm not trying to be your business like that. I just want to make sure that I'm negotiating properly. Do you know what your rate is for today? And until this day, I will ask the hairstylist to this day, hey, what was your rate? Okay, cool. And it's not even to be up in their business. It's just to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and negotiating properly. And in that way, I kind of learned way more than I ever expected to. And now I get the same rate that they get, except I don't have to pay anybody an agency fee.
Right. And so would you say that in general, the profession is pretty open, or is it pretty shut down? Because generally, I think people are kind of like, ooh, don't be asking me how much I'm making. I'm not telling you how much I'm making, that sort of thing. But is that industry as a group pretty open?
It depends on the person. I think they understand it's not about your money. I'm not out here telling anybody your business. It's really not even about you. I'm just trying to gather information for myself. Mm-hmm. But the guys that I would ask, they're cool. They're not the catty type, And to be honest with you, I won't ask you if I think you're going to be like that. Mm-hmm. I won't even ask.
Gotcha.
Because I'm not trying to make it awkward. And then low-key, I'm going to get mad, right? So I'm not trying to get mad either. So I won't even really ask. And sometimes I don't have to.
Right.
But most of the time, what I find is they want that support too, especially if it's another person that's not represented. If it's another hairstyle, something they're not represented either, they want to know what I'm asking too.
Right. It's give and take.
Yeah, we make sure we're on the same page because hair and makeup typically is the same rate unless hair needs a budget for a wig or a unit or, extensions, color or something like that. Then they'll get more. But in terms of our service is technically supposed to be valued at the same rate.
Okay.
So it should be comparable.
So tell us a little bit more about the cost of not just running a business, running a makeup business, because I think one of the things people take for granted is that going to Target and getting makeup is not the same thing as makeup you need to use for your clientele. So what kind of expenses in general do you incur as a result of running your business?
Okay, so you have your kit and your kit needs to be replenished. And the thing about your kit too is the more you have, the better you can be. That's probably obvious, but it's not just about foundation and eyeshadow. You need that, but you also need things like puffs, sponges, disposable mascara wands, which a lot of people, they don't use disposable mascara wands. They use the mascara from the bottle, and that's unsanitary. That is extremely unsanitary and highly problematic because you can spread infection and bacteria and things like that. Lip wands, all that kind of stuff. I see a lot of professional makeup artists too, even on tutorials and stuff, they use straight from the bottle. That is nuts to me. The only person I use straight from the bottle is my consistent client, and she has her own. And it's because she always wants to wear the same lip gloss and she wants to take it to the club with her. And that is her lip gloss. You know what I mean? That's not something I'm going to use on somebody else's lips. There's your chair. I have a chair that I travel with because I can't bend over for hours on a time. It's going to kill my back. So I have a chair. My chair costs about $150. I have a light that I travel with. Your light can cost anywhere from, I think a good one costs $250 or something like that. But those are one-time expenses, so that's good.
So it sounds like it's pretty low overhead in the cost of being a makeup. Like you said, the makeup is expensive in itself, but
kinda. Yeah, it adds up. So basically it adds up, right? Although I do think you can start with a pretty low investment. Well, not including the light in the chair, because then that kind of takes it up the whole budget. But in terms of the actual kit, you can start with a $500 kit to start.
Right.
If you're buying palettes, if you're buying foundation palettes, and you're buying eyeshadow palettes because you get more colors in one, it's a discounted price, then you can start with, I would say, $500 to start with. But if you want to be a professional, you want to be able to have everything, then you're going to need more than that. Right. My kit is worth thousands and thousands of dollars. I just don't know because I buy them in increments of hundreds of dollars. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. I think you bring up a good point too about this idea of investing in yourself. And so you talked about obviously starting the kit, but also in addition to that, having the individual disposable implements that you use on a person's face. If you want to run a next level business, you can't show up to a celebrity's house and be trying to use the same mascara out the same tube because they're going to call you on that. They're used to seeing people around that have disposable ones and they're cognizant of their face because they don't need an eye infection. Their face is how they make their money. So making that investment in yourself by saying you want to do this and pick up the disposable ones on the way is yet another thing you need to do if you want to. If it's side hustle that's trying to become a full-time hustle, you need to really invest in those kind of things and take on those expenses. So,
and you learn different things. I started buying mine on Amazon. I stock up on my lashes. I stock up on my disposable wands and stuff like that. You can cut corners when you learn how to do things. But at the time, when you're first beginning, not really. And I wish I had a dollar amount, but it's just that things simply add up.
Right.
And then you might need to buy something specific for a specific person. And then, it adds up, and makeup is expensive. You can leave there with a $250 bill and the bag is small. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, what the hell? Or my makeup brush cleaner costs $40.
Right.
And I clean my brushes after every person. So that's why when you're doing free shoots, it's like, all right, but I'm dipping into a $40 makeup brush cleaner every time, paper towel, all that kind of stuff. It just adds up. It definitely adds up. I wish I had a dollar amount, but I kind of don't.
Yeah, no, it's all good. You are full-time doing this. You have a celebrity list that is star-studded. This is your profession. This is not a job. This is not a side hustle. This is something that you're amazing at. So talk a little bit about what it means to organize yourself in the midst of that. Who are the members of your financial entourage? Because I'm sure you have things you got to take care of, like taxes and creating a budget to plan for that and business expenses versus personal expenses. So how are you organizing your finances now?
Okay, so before I left UCLA, I got involved with a financial advisor. He opened a IUL.
Life insurance, yeah.
Yes, it's a life insurance, but it had a savings attached to it. That was a shitty account. And it turned out the one that I had specifically was a shitty account. And it turned out it was actually going to lapse because of the fees. It's a long story, but it was going to lapse eventually, which means come to zero because the fees were going to eat up one. But anyway, so I had an IUL. Me, my best friend, and my sister all had an IUL. And I, at the time, was putting way less money than everybody else in. I think I lost only $1,600 of that. They lost way more, double and more.
Crappy product. Do you hear that, people? Crappy product.
By the time we realized it was a crappy situation, it was too late and we lost our money. Mine was a little bit of a loss, but then I still had a mutual fund that I had opened, a short-term mutual fund. Well, my guy did some weird stuff. My fund took a drop and he pulled out on a low. I'm supposed to do that. He pulled out on a low and entered another account. So remember I said I only used half of my money that I had saved up. Well, the other half was in this mutual fund. Mm-hmm. And so I was stressed about that because it really wasn't even earning enough. It would earn more in my Discover savings, So right. I had to leave it in there for 3 years in order to get the same amount that I would earn in a risk-free Discover savings. So
this would be a offense.
Yeah. But really it was the account did well. It's just he had pulled it out on a low. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm talking about looking at my initial investment. So that was that. So I had some bad investment experience I didn't care for. In the meantime, my friend was trying to help me. The guy I went to college with, he was the one trying to help me figure out the situation and repair it. I ended up getting life insurance. I applied for disability insurance because it's important in what I do. I don't have any benefits. And if what I do requires me to be in the room in order to make money, what happens if something happens to my body and I can't be in the room? Then I have no money. So I applied for disability insurance and I was denied. And I think it was something about my income at the time. This is before I was really making money. So it was like I was denied, but I got life insurance. So I'm cool. I'm cool after I die, but whatever. Before I die, that's going to be a little bit of a struggle. So anyway, so that happened. And that was my professional financial experience. And then as of recently, I have another financial advisor. He does my taxes. And I speak with him about some other things, but I haven't been ready to get back into the actual investment game just because I feel like it didn't really work that well. And I felt like if I would have invested $10,000 in myself, if I would have went out and spent $10,000 putting together a production and shoot or, whatever it was, the marketing tools and this and that, I would have made $10,000 back. You know what I mean? Versus putting $10,000 in an account and only making $300 back. I realized that that's slow money, basically, in my opinion. So I haven't been ready to go back into a money market or anything like that. So I have a financial advisor who really just kind of does my taxes at this point. And then I have a friend of mine. He's a hairstylist and we are like, I don't know what you call it, but we are on the phone all the time talking about dollars, how much we made this week, what to do, and what we're going to do next. We're just, setting our goals. I have a big birthday coming up and I have a big financial goal attached to my birthday. And he does too. And we're just like, how far are we from the goal? Are we going to make it? And that kind of thing. So And then, of course, I speak with my friends about finances, but I only have one guy on my financial team, which is my tax guy. Other than that, all invoicing, all payment follow-ups, all that kind of stuff I handle myself.
You are serving celebrities. You're traveling all over the world. You got to keep your schedule. You got to keep your finances in order. Can you talk about this idea of I can do it all on my own? And at what point do you feel like it will be time to hire? What are the kind of key markers or the key things that you need to do in order for you to be like, ooh, I might have too much going on and I need to outsource some of this?
So I think that time has come, that outsourcing market has come, because I think the big indication is when I feel so overwhelmed that I can't enjoy the opportunities that are in front of me, when I have to sit at home, when I have to work 5-6 days a week, and then my day off comes and I'm sitting at home in front of the computer for 5 hours. And sometimes there is 5 hours of work, but 9 times out of 10, 3 of those hours I spent there sitting there in agony, just procrastinating. You know what I mean? My quality of life is suffering because I don't have a team.
Mm-hmm.
That's like when people ask me, I do recommend an agent. I do recommend a manager. It's just that for me, my schedule got so busy, it didn't make sense to get an agent because now I'm paying a percentage on a schedule that I'm filling up. And that's not to say that the work that they would be doing is more so the paperwork and the invoice and all that kind of stuff. And that's valuable to me and that is worth paying for. However, it gets a little bit trickier when you're the one bringing all of the clientele. So I felt like I had kind of gotten to this place where it was a little too late for an agent, not for necessarily a manager, but definitely too late for an agent. And I always suggest, because I think agents are valuable. I know an agent would benefit me. They have access to different clientele. You know what I mean? Coca-Cola ain't calling me.
Right. You never know. You never know.
Right. I mean, they might, but I'm just saying that's because my client is going to tell them to call me. Coca-Cola is not just going to land on RebekahAladdin.com and call me. They're not. So, an agent is very beneficial, but I had just got to a place where it didn't make sense for me. I was already managing, so I just, you know how it is. You just feel like, no, I can do it. But one thing I did want to say too is that people have to be careful too, because this is why the one thing that I did that helped me was I always had a base. I always had a rainy day fund. As soon as I got that job in college, I started having a rainy day fund. And that is what, one, helps you keep your stress down. Because when your bank account is low and you know that you've got something on the side that you're going to be good for the next couple of months if all hell were to break loose, that just adds a certain peace of mind, even though I never really wanted to touch it. So the pressure is still there, but at the end of the day, you know that you're going to fall flat on your face. You still got it. You still got a little bit more time. And then secondly, too, now I'm in the business. So a year ago, I was dealing with cash, and most of it was cash, especially when you're first starting. You're personal clients, they pay you in cash and you get it before they get out the door. Now I'm into campaigns and bigger productions. I have to invoice, and then those invoices take 30 to 45 days after processing. So that means that the person that I'm giving my information to has to be able to be diligent enough to actually process it when I give it to them. Otherwise, I'm chasing my check for up to 6 months.
Wow. Right.
And it has happened with big name companies. And then the big name company is even a bigger problem, because if I'm working with a big name company, that means I probably have a cute check, hopefully.
Right. Hey.
So if I'm living check to check, or I'm counting that money like I really, really need it. So if I'm waiting on a $2,000 check and I really, really need it, and this doesn't come and it's late, $2,000 is a lot of money to need and not have. That's all the more reason why you kind of got to get ahead of it. You cannot live check to check when your checks don't come on time.
Yes, I love it. Look, that's the quote of the day. You cannot live check to check when your checks don't come on time. Right.
Because first of all, you'll be stressed out. And second of all, you're going to be evicted. And that's just that. And I think that is what saves me the most, because I'm a saver girl. I don't order drinks. This is my first tip whenever I tell people if they want to save money. I do not order drinks at a restaurant. Drinks are for on average $2 to $6. And that's for a tea or a slushie or whatever the hell, a smoothie, whatever.
I was getting ready to say, girl, do you live in LA?
Yeah, I live in LA.
Because 2 to 6, I'm thinking 12.
Oh, I'm not even talking about an alcoholic drink. I'm talking about a regular drink. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a boba or whatever. That's $6-7, a coffee, whatever. And then you go to the restaurant, you don't realize you're getting a soda. That's $3. And I know that sounds so ridiculous, but I got in that habit when I was in high school. I don't order drinks. I drink water. And I actually happen to like water now. But I drink water. And if I'm going to order a drink, I treat myself to ordering a drink. That's how I am. I don't get my nails done all the time. I decided that I wanted to treat myself, and I get my nails done. I treat myself to these things. I have a very good understanding of what is a necessity and what is a treat. So I know my nails are a treat. I know my hair is a treat. And I know not everybody is lucky enough. I'm mixed. So my hair is a little bit more manageable. I know some people need outside help, professional help. And maybe that's a necessity for you, but that's cool. So if that's a necessity, then where can you negotiate your money? And I still live very tight to it.
Right. You got to make sure that your spending aligns with your values.
Yeah, exactly. And part of that is because at the end of the day, yeah, I'm good, but my fear used to be back in the day. I don't know where my next job is coming from.
Right.
I'm still technically living job to job, but I'm not living check to check.
Amen. Hallelujah to all of that. Rebekah, it has been so great having you. I want to wrap up with our final sprint. So this is our quick answer questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, okay, I'm ready.
All right. You have $20 in your pocket right now. What do you spend it on?
$20. Shit, something that can make me more money.
Yes. I love it. I love it.
Don't spend it, invest it.
Yes, I'm with you. Invest it. The best thing about working with celebrity clients?
I would say the best thing about working with, I don't know. Well, one, they're all amazing. But two, I think the fact that they're celebrity clients is a lot of times they carry you on into a room that you would not otherwise be in. Does that make sense? Yes.
So the experiences and the journey that you get to go on by living kind of through them.
Close to them. Yeah.
Yeah, close to them. Yeah. Okay. The best advice you've ever received?
How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Okay. I like it. Something you do for fun that doesn't cost anything.
Girl, doesn't everything cost something?
And not everything. Going outside, riding your bike.
Nah. I sing. I like to sing.
Okay. You gonna sing something for us? No. Okay.
No. No, heck no, girl. Not on this mic.
All right. Worst money habit?
I don't even know. I don't think I have a worst money habit.
Everybody's got one. I'm a financial planner and I got one.
I know. Well, that's my worst money habit. I guess my worst money habit now is I don't budget because it's hard for me to really understand what's coming because of how everything is delayed. I feel like I don't budget well. I'm mindful of how I spend, but I'm not actually on a real budget.
Gotcha. Okay. And that kind of leads us to our last question. So what is one thing that you would like to change about your own personal finances in the upcoming year?
I want to get back into investment.
Okay. Investment and budgeting.
Yeah.
I'll add that last one for you because you're like, I don't budget. So it sounds like you kind of want to. So yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you have $300 for food or such. I'm supposed to do it, but I haven't done it yet.
Okay. Rebekah, it's been so great having you on the show. This episode was awesome. You have made it to the finish line of the final sprint, and now you're standing on the podium. You have won the race.
Yay.
So this is your time to shine. Go ahead and shout yourself out. Tell people where they can find you, how we can support you, and whatever endeavors you have coming up. Go ahead, girl.
Okay. You can find me on Instagram, probably the easiest and probably most active platform I'm on, at Rebekah Aladdin, which is spelled REBEKAH ALADDIN. It looks like Aladdin, but it's not. It's Aladdin. And then my website is RebekahAladdin.com. And then I'm on Twitter and stuff, Rebekah Aladdin, but Instagram is probably the most active place.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. It was great having you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Rebekah's Money Memoir. Rebekah brought up a great point about leaving your day job to pursue entrepreneurship. She was able to transition from working full-time to going after her dream because she had a year's worth of income saved beforehand. This allowed her to take the necessary steps to grow her network and business without worrying to make ends meet. She also shared the fact that she's hesitant to get back into investments again because her first experience ended up being a bad one. It's unfortunate that this happened to her, which leads me to our word of the day. Insurance. So I thought about describing IULs and going into the whole spiel for everybody to get a better understanding of that. But what I really want to discuss is how to avoid being taken advantage of. The reason I got so upset when I heard Rebekah say that an insurance purchase went poorly for her is because it happens far too frequently. An insurance agent decides to refer to him or herself as a financial advisor, but the only advice they provide is buy this insurance. They do not help you understand your budget. They don't consider whether or not you have an emergency fund in place. They don't ask, are you contributing to retirement? Do you have a good strategy for your student loan debt? Yeah, I got a problem with that. Insurance is a product, not a service. And it's unfortunate that we have to be weary of people who refer to themselves as advisors and that you expect them to provide advice when they're really just peddling a crappy product that does not consider your complete financial picture, and then they disappear once that purchase has been made. This damages the image of the financial industry, and in particular, it makes it hard for those of us who aren't selling a product, but are providing a service, a real service. Insurance is not bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. Its job is to protect you from a risk. And there is a type that's appropriate for you, but a person first needs to know your full story before they go off and prescribe some cure. Some questions to ask when someone is encouraging you to purchase a product. Start off with, well, how do you get paid for what I'm buying? Ask them what happens if you want to get rid of the policy. Ask what happens if you can't pay the premium for a while. And then also ask some of those questions that I said above. Do you provide support outside of the insurance purchase? So, can you help me with my budget or my student loans or my savings goal or whatever other financial questions and concerns you have? Okay, I'm getting off of my soapbox now. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you found this episode worth listening to. And as always, if you have financial questions, suggestions for guests, or would like to share your own money memoir, please contact us through our website, worth-listening.com.